Some call it surprise. Well, okay, we're going live. We're live, guys. We're live.
You never
And
expect
direct.
it.
And I just want to say, we're live, guys. We are live.
We're live.
We're live.
I'm still eating my peanut butter cup. You already ate yours.
It's a good Trader Joe's dark chocolate cup. We already had a gin and tonic. Now we're moving on to the Maker's Mark.
Yeah, we got the baby bottle tonight.
Little baby bottle, which you were using for some barbecue over the weekend.
Yeah, I was using that to marinate the pork loin.
Loins.
The loins from the pig that I barbecued for my family on Mother's Day, because I aced Mother's Day.
Yeah? Did a little pork tenderloin?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Exactly. Put it in the whiskey. Add in some brown sugar, some Worcestershire, a little honey. Griddle it up.
Right on.
It's delicious. It's the best. What are we up to tonight, bud?
Welcome to tonight's show. Tonight I want to talk about what to expect.
you want to talk. What do you? I guess tonight's all about what
me.
you want to talk about.
It's all about me.
Fine.
I
drink my gin and tonic on an empty stomach, so.
Gin and tonic. We had a pre-game gin and tonic, and now we are in the game,
It's
as
serious.
they say.
It's serious time.
And we're going live.
What do you want to talk about, bud?
I want to talk about dropping your bike off with a bike mechanic.
Oh, it's the worst.
It is the worst. They
It's
have
so scary.
they have opinions.
Yes. They
They
want to sell you stuff that you don't need.
Sometimes you need it. Sometimes you need it.
Do
and,
you?
And I want to try to have a little bit of a balanced approach, even though we're both bike mechanics.
Yeah.
So we are biased.
Mm-hmm.
We are jaded.
No jade here.
We're rugged.
Oh.
You know what?
What?
I want people to. I want people to walk away with a better understanding.
No, you want them to stay. Oh, you at the end.
At the end.
Okay.
Better
Stay
understanding.
now, walk away later.
Yeah.
Got it.
Great. I also, yeah, that's what I want.
Okay.
I had a joke on the tip of my head. I can't figure it out, so let's move on. Let's move on. I want people to walk away
my boy.
with having a better understanding of what to do and what not to do. You take your bike in.
Yeah.
Like, what's a bike mechanic supposed to do? What is standard practice? You come in. What are they supposed to do? And what aren't they?
And what's the customer supposed to do?
What's the customer supposed to do?
Okay, we're gonna solve all of this
One night only.
tonight.
And it only costs you $3,000.
Oh, I thought it was 3 monthly payments of $19.95.
Easy
I
payments.
miss the days when everything cost just a series of payments that were all $19.99
$19.99. $95. Okay.
or $99. I think it might have
$95.
been both.
As long as it's
I
not
mean,
$20.
I think
My cutoff is $20.
no, we're done. Yes.
So, you buy a bike. You may or may not ride the heck out of it. Year later, 2 years later, you go to the bike shop. What's that interaction supposed to be? You walk in. This is you. This is your bike. What's that look like? And what doesn't it look like? What's a fair? Because the thing is we're trying to strike a fair balance, because a good repair for the shop and a good value for the customer.
We're trying to do all of it. Shop's trying to make those dollar bills
Holla holla.
so you can pay, so the owner can pay for the oil changes in the Ferrari.
Ferrari.
The Stradale.
Ferrari.
You can pay for the oil changes in his Stradale. And the customer can walk away being like, I totally took advantage of this bike shop. Somebody else should go there too because they're so cheap and stupid.
Okay, not exactly what I was going for.
Oh, not that.
No.
Oh.
Okay, one thing is in the stratosphere, in the world, the consumer has been told that they're always right.
Yes, the consumer is always right.
The consumer is always right.
The customer is always right.
It's always right. And
Is that true?
No, it is not true. Unfortunately,
Bullshit.
it is not true.
What?
It is not true. But this isn't Burger King.
Or
You can't
REI.
have whatever you like. You can have whatever you like.
Is that their song?
No.
Or are you auditioning?
I'm auditioning. I do sing on the side. You can see me on Tuesday nights. Oh, no, I'm here Tuesday nights.
I can definitely see you on Tuesday nights.
Here. Is my neck looking red? Because
It's getting there.
it's getting there.
I
That's
love
the
it.
temperature. By
Our
the end
new
of the
game is how long does it take for Nick's neck to get red? And this
Yeah.
is why they put the makeup on. It covers it up.
the customer is not always right.
No.
Like your job is for them to somebody to come in and ask your professional opinion about what you do and what you know.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes that doesn't go smooth all the
No,
time.
sometimes it does not go smoothly. No.
No. And that's what we're getting to the bottom of.
Sometimes it looks like it goes smoothly, and then once the money has been exchanged, the smoothness crumbles,
Yes.
and that's problematic. Okay.
So, somebody comes into the bike shop.
Mm-hmm.
What does that first interaction look like?
Hi.
Like, they don't know
How
you.
you doing today?
You don't know them. They
What
come
brings
in.
you in the bike shop today?
What brings you in today?
I have my bike. This point is critical,
Super critical.
right? I have my bike, and okay, we can go many different directions with the following the and. What are some of the directions that and can go?
Awesome. You need a full tune-up. It's going to be $300. I'm going to take the bike. I'm going to roll it over here, and we'll see you on Tuesday, okay?
That's not my bike. That was that guy's bike. I was just holding on to it. The customer.
So
will
that's
be like,
one.
That's one. That's bad. Yeah.
That's actually a bike mechanic doing a bad job.
Bike mechanic just saying, "Oh yeah, you're in. You're here. You need a tune-up that's our most expensive. We'll get you rolling." And usually this is a bike mechanic putting on his shop voice,
Yeah.
which is not his normal voice,
Welcome.
which is very Let's just stop right here.
Is it like a
If you're
stripper
a
DJ voice?
customer, you gotta try. You gotta learn if a shop guy's using his shop guy voice. You gotta find your like businessman voice, or you gotta leave something like that. But if he's clearly talking to you in a tone and a way that is clearly like not natural for him, he's being shifty.
Yep.
He's being shifty. No, but they come in. Yes, they say, "I'm here. Yeah, I got your bike. What brings you in? Oh, my bike, and I need blank." It could be a number of different things, right? The easiest thing is gonna be like, "I have a flat tire." Done. Easy, right?
Boom.
Problem
Yeah.
solved.
And you didn't need the $300 tune-up.
Unless it's an e-bike, in which case, yes, you have a flat tire, but it's also a $300 flat repair.
There are wires involved, and sometimes you have to use an app.
So many bolts and screws and heavy things.
But
But it can be, yeah, I have a flat tire, or it can be any number of things that the customer, they may have a clear idea of what they need. Oh, my shifting is off. Okay, what do you do then? Or, I have a flat tire, or my shifting's off, or my brake's rubbing. There's some simple things where the customer may know exactly kind of what's going on. But then you try to fall into this other world, which is where the customer doesn't exactly know. And they're just bringing their bike in for some work.
yeah, they've ridden it
Which is
for
good, right?
2 years.
Sure.
2 years of like maybe mildly like hard mountain bike riding. 2 years, probably a little neglected. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
to think of it like this.
I'm all ears.
I like to play music.
Okay.
And
like
before
play
you're
music,
yeah,
or
like
let
bass
music...
guitar,
Okay.
guitar. Before
Like
you're a
you
musician,
do the you do the playing.
yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Before I was a musician,
Magician.
you hear songs as one thing. Like it's just one piece. And then after you learn how
Yeah.
to play an instrument,
One person makes all of it.
yeah, it's just like all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
But then when you learn like what a bass line is, what a guitar line is, I mean, obviously you know what drums are, but you can start to hear all the different pieces. And that's my analogy is most people think of their bike as just this like one thing. They can't differentiate like a loose rear hub versus a loose
They
headset.
don't know they need the bass player to
Come in and go
to-
bum ba da dum ba da dum
to work on their rear hub.
That was go crazy on. So
Okay.
they don't like I think the average person doesn't know what a bad thing feels like on their bike. Like a loose headset. You know exactly what a loose headset feels like.
I do.
Right.
I know exactly what it feels like.
Do you know what a loose linkage feels like?
Yes.
Exactly. You're
Yes.
like, oh, there's definitely something wrong. I need to stop and look at this. Or, oh, that's just a DU bushing.
I know what a
and-
loose cougar looks like, and I steer clear. I'm getting too old for that anyway.
Yeah, we took a left turn there. So, people know that there's something wrong. Something's not riding right.
Yep.
Something doesn't feel right. But they don't know enough about the bike to articulate that.
Right.
And that's
Or-
where they come to you.
Yeah, or they know that they haven't had it worked on in a period of time.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I think it needs to be worked on.
And people have been trained on the automotive side like 5,000 miles.
Boom, boom,
You know,
boom.
you need that oil change unless you're running
Yeah.
full synthetic. Then you can go up to
Right.
10,000 miles, which
Can
is
go
not
up-
true.
You can go up to 10,000.
Not true.
It's true.
I found holes in my oil filter when I took it out.
Well,
Another day, another story.
yeah.
But when there's holes in your oil filter, this
You-
is not
you-
good.
You've used it up. It's good job. You got your money's worth, man.
Peekaboo! I see you.
I touched you.
Oh, there's a little. There's some stuff going on under the counter. So
True. Okay.
you come in with a bike. You don't quite know what's going on. You're like,
Right.
hey,
Well,
my
you just need some
shifting's
work, yeah.
bad. The next step is the mechanic, you, me, we would put it up in the stand, and we would do an evaluation.
Normally, yes.
Yeah, unless that you obviously talk and you have a chat and you say, hey, like, what's going on? Like, if it's a flat tire and they're out on a ride and they're in their full kit, we're going to take care of that flat tire and
Right.
kind of do a quick check and then send them back out on
Sure.
their ride. But, guy comes in, maybe he's in normal dress clothes for work, has a bike, rolls it in. We're going to do that checkup, that first initial check. And that's a big point I want to make with this episode is that checkup, that first check over the bike is super important.
It can look a lot of different ways. I have seen this checkup not actually done, but where the bike is just taken, put in the stand, and then just a sort of series of questions asked, which is a good place
Yeah.
to start. But
The
then,
interview.
Ooh, that's a good way
It's
to
an
put it.
interview.
Yeah.
Because you're not only going to ask about the mechanical stuff of the bike, but what I like to do is like, what are your goals and aspirations with your bike this year?
To dominate,
What do you wanna do?
To dominate. I wanna
Dominate the Enduro series? Like Curtis Cole?
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the old man category.
In the old man category. Wow, my neck is getting red.
Chris Harris says, "Whoa." Why does he say "whoa"?
I think he's listening to a
And Chris
music
says,
genre.
I don't go to Elway's. Is everybody just going on about my haircut still?
Yeah, you got a mullet, dude. Oh no, it's mixed hair. It's
I have mixed hair. No,
It's mixed. Some of the hairs are short, some of the hairs
some
are
are
long.
long.
It's a mixed hair length.
correct. It's mullet's a dumb word.
Yeah. Sell me the most expensive tune. Now,
And Go. We are on the same page. Go.
The pre-tune-up is not only to talk to somebody about what's going on with their bike, but it's also to protect you as a mechanic, because you will sit there and show all of the problems that are going on with the bike, and both of you can see and acknowledge it. And if you don't both see and acknowledge it, then maybe that's time for a breakup. But at that point, you can check all of the things that need to be checked, and move forward. Like, you can see this is broken. I can see this is broken. We both agree we can move forward with this.
Yeah. So, how does that interview?
But not only mechanical, but like if somebody, we had quite a few people doing like tours of South America. And there's actually two people that I think were the easiest to work with.
Not cougars.
Not cougars. Bike commuters that commute regularly, so their bike is their car.
Ooh.
Like
I have an opinion on some of those, but yes.
I felt that the ones that came into my shop were probably the easiest because they expect, like, they know it's going to cost some money to get their bike taken care of and taken care of well. There's an expectation.
Some of them are like that.
At least the ones I dealt with.
Yeah, maybe you got some special ones. Maybe
touring cyclists, because they're going on a big ride.
Yep.
And they want it fixed well, like.
Yeah, they know what
to the letter.
That person knows what they need.
And
out
stuff's
of the bike,
planned.
Right?
They're planning a trip.
In a sense, both those people know what they need out of the bike.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can explain that in the interview, then you'll be on the same page. My experience with commuters was there's a couple different kinds. There is one, like you said, that's been their day in, day out, daily driver, and they know they've needed it to work on. And they've known that it takes a little bit of money to keep that going, right? There's also another one that does the same thing, yet they're always asking for the bike to be done to the bare minimum. Because it's their daily driver and it's replacing their car, and they don't think it should cost money because they know that cars cost money and they're riding the bike to save money. And so why should the bike cost money? Like, that's another kind of person that I have definitely had to deal with.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, well, I know you guys are really good at fixing bikes because you just like do the bare basic. They're asking to do the bare minimum because they don't want to pay for it to be, because they don't think that the daily driver, the commuter bike, needs to run well. It needs to run enough, which is that right there. The well versus perfect versus good enough sort of spectrum of how a customer expects a bike to work is a really complicated one to have to navigate when you're a service rider.
Yeah. And
because it's not the same for everybody.
I also appreciate when I go in for service on my car, the stuff that I can't do is tell me, like, is this going to be dangerous? Is this something that's going to degrade over time and we can deal with it when it's like undrivable, but it's not just going to fail?
Sure.
Like a clutch wearing out or, something like that. Like, so tell me, like, hey, can I get 500 more miles, and when I start to feel this, bring it back in and we'll take care of it. I don't mind that customer so much, as long as that's like you establish that in the beginning, in the interview. But
that's what's kind of hard to establish in the interview, because customers aren't gonna. Some of them don't know what their cards hold, and some of them are unwilling to show their cards. So
totally. And I asked, like, do you want to do the bare minimum, or do you want to like make the bike as good as we can make it?
Yeah.
Like that question right there.
I'll ask it kind of in a different way. I'll just say, how well do you want this to work?
Yeah.
And then sort of gauge, like, okay, do you
need to get by?
Because well, and part of this is because, at the risk of sounding a little braggadocious, I've worked with a lot of higher end clientele, right? people who want top-end bikes to work really, really well. And that's more or less what I work with a lot nowadays, and what I worked with when I had my retail store. And so it was frequent when I had my store before that people would come and be like, oh, I know you guys are really good at this. Like, there was a certain reputation. I know you're good at making bikes work well, but could you not go, probably the more common phrase was, don't go crazy on it.
Crazy
Like,
on you.
don't do a good job. Which
Another
was
heart
the
reference.
indication was like, yeah, nice. The indication that like, oh, they want a certain value, right? For what they're doing. They don't need the commuter bike or, the cheap road bike or whatever you want to call it, the going to the coffee shop bike to be tuned in the same way that you would tune, a top-end road race machine or whatever. Those are different considerations. So yes, that sort of figuring out the customer's expectations versus what you're capable of, you got to fish it out. You got to figure it out. Because you can't just put everybody in the same exact... don't make it perfect.
Don't make it perfect.
Curtis, no.
I mean, that's why you have that interview. Yeah. That's why you ask them you dig a little and you ask a lot of questions.
It has to be a number of questions. Yeah. That start before, you even kind of talk, before you even look at the bike, it's like, it's that. How well do you want it to work? What are you using the bike for? Those questions have to be asked. And if a service writer isn't asking you those questions, you know what they're doing? They're avoiding the things that keep them from selling you the most profitable product package that they can sell you.
Yeah, and the alignment of what your needs and expectations are can be mismatched. Yeah. And if you think bike mechanic work is tough, video work that I do full time is even harder because
bullshit.
No,
this guy.
A bike is a mechanical thing. Like it works, it doesn't. Like there's a little bit more. But when you're talking about ideas and artistic ideas, the interview process.
There's a little bit of an objective versus subjective. Considerations.
But and my point I want to make with that is that actually being a service writer has helped because it is an interview process to figure out what you want to make.
You hear that, kids? Working in a bike shop can actually help you in your future other occupation that might not be bike mechanic work.
Yeah.
It's invaluable.
If you want to be an actor, if you want to be a producer.
Yeah.
But you
CEO.
You have to sit there and ask a lot of questions. And you learn those questions in that interview process. Mm-hmm. And it definitely helps just dealing with all sorts of people who see it in different ways.
We used to joke, and it was only so much of a joke. I was very close. That in our tune-up offerings board, we wanted to have a tune-up called the half-ass tune. Because for this exact reason, that people would come in and be like, "Oh, well, I don't want you guys to do a great job."
Yeah,
like you're fucking here. What do you want? You want you want it to be good that I want it to be so good that you're happy with it, but also so cheap that you're also feel like that's as cheap as much as you would pay. And we always joke that we would offer say, hey, here's our suggestion for the bike. We could do our tune-up packages are this one, and this one. Boom,
hey,
boom,
I'm
boom.
cut off after this.
You're cut off.
Daddy's cut off.
And that's what they include, and that's what they cost. Or, and this is what you get, you can opt for the half-ass tune. Now, the half-ass tune is X dollars. It's whatever, half the price of the basic one or whatever like that. And you get whatever work we just choose to do on the
whatever
bike.
You can do in 15 minutes.
Yeah, and not even that. Whatever we just choose, whatever the mechanic chooses to do on a given day. He might have an extra hour in his day. Lucky you. You've rolled that dice and you've come up. But he might not, and he might just get, you know what? We're going to pump up your tires. We're going to put some chain lube on your chain, lube the pivots on the brake levers so they don't squeak anymore, and done.
But that's what you try to, work out in that initial interview. Like, you're trying to figure out, like, okay, do you want to do these 3 things a la carte? Because you can do, when you go into a bike shop, there's a la carte.
Yes.
Like,
What's a la carte mean?
You want to derail. You want the soup of the day.
What's a la carte
soup
mean?
du jour.
What's a la carte mean?
A la carte means that you're picking out individual items. I want the. It comes from
means,
restaurants.
the cart.
Just the cart.
I don't
A la.
know what it means. A
la carte. So a la carte is like one rear derailleur tune, or one rear derailleur adjustment, one front derailleur adjustment, and a back wheel true.
Yep.
Like, you're picking out individual items from the menu, and those cost a specific amount, and they're usually a little bit more. And if you pick enough of them, then a tune-up makes more sense. And we've talked about that pricing structure a little bit in previous shows, but that's what you're trying to figure out, though, in that interview process. Is that person wanting to spend $35, or do they want to do a full tune-up and go a little bit more in depth? Are they trying to do the bare minimum, or are they trying to go a little bit deeper?
Right.
And what's fair in that interaction, and trying to figure it out in a.
But
in a
how do
relatively
you cross over from?
Quick amount of time.
Yeah, you need a portal to cross over.
Portal. Maybe a Stargate.
A Stargate or a sensory deprivation chamber.
Sounds like a pro tune. That's what Curtis Cole says.
It always sounds like a pro tune. Now that you work for those guys.
Yeah. All Wheat Ridge does is pro tunes.
And you get
a
we looked
fitting.
at their pricing. It's like, we'll wash your bike for $100, or we'll tune it up for $500. Which one do you want?
Is there a door
I
charge?
don't know.
Does Wheat Ridge have a door charge? It's $15 just to come
just
in
to walk in
and look at the bikes.
It's a good probably.
They should have a door charge.
Ooh,
Premium bike shops,
most premium.
door charge. Like, we don't want you to come in unless you're willing to spend
You've got to have some
15,
skin in the
$20.
game just to be here and talk to us. Yeah.
And 21 and up, because we serve drinks.
Well, I mean, if your opportunity is to talk to the Curtis Cole, then that's a premium fee.
So
what were we talking about?
What we've covered so far is your bike's broken. You come in, we do an interview, we figure out: do you need an extensive tune? Mm-hmm. Do you need a couple of adjustments? And can we do that quick? And then, as a mechanic, you need to think out loud. Say, hey, you know what? You really just need a couple things, and the bike's good to go. Like, you bought the bike this year. We need to trim the wheel, do a derailleur adjustment.
Yeah.
It's going to be like $20. You're out the door. Done. But
nothing should cost $20.
$20. You're out the door.
Nothing should cost $20.
Okay. $30. You're
$50.
Out the door. $50. See, this is what we're talking about. But sometimes it's like a couple quick adjustments.
I've heard this actually from forums that I'm part of where people in bike shops have said, like, no bike coming in or out of the shop should be less than $50.
That's a good point. That's a good, like, you do have to stay in business, too.
Right. Well, this is the.
But what's the balance of goodwill and staying in business?
Right.
Like,
also just
and this
basic honesty of it. Like, this is my question all the time. So.
And this is also a good point of, like, what we're talking about is the first time somebody comes into your shop.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, what's the deal with my bike? Mm-hmm. It's 6 months old. Like, is this just a couple tweaks and you're out the door? Whether you charge $30, $50, and they leave happy and stoked to be able to go out and ride. Mm-hmm. And you make some money for what you do, and you're able to stay in business. Yep. And that's what that interaction looks like. Sometimes, though, I want to bring this up, is the customer will argue with you.
Oh, they will.
They will argue.
What will they argue about?
Insist on the tune-up. You're like, listen.
Yeah, right.
You need a headset adjust. The bike has been ridden 4 times.
Right.
You need a headset adjustment and a derailleur adjustment. and I have a shop full of bikes, and it's honestly better for me to just fix this really quick and send you on your way versus holding it for a week to do a tune-up. That doesn't need to be done. I've literally started to argue with people.
Well, and therein lies a very difficult, and again, it's bike mechanics are not given enough credit for the social
soft skills.
soft skills that they have to figure this
Yeah.
shit out. Because that'll happen, but like, okay, if you do it real quick, you make it look easy. And when you make it look easy, you make it look cheap.
Yes.
So that's a interesting situation. Be like, oh, well, you think you need $100 worth of work. What in reality you need 12 minutes worth of work. We'll charge you $25.
Yes.
And that's it. But is there a consideration to be made to say, oh, maybe we shouldn't make this look as easy as it is? Sometimes. Because other times it's nowhere near as easy as it looks. Right?
Yeah.
Somebody comes in, I mean, this happens all the time nowadays, internal cable routing, right? Oh, I just need like a new shift cable. It goes through, out of the shifter, under the bar tape, into the handlebar, into the stem, out the stem, and into a hole that goes through the headset, through the frame, out the back. That's your shifting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
With internal shifting, I would never do that on the spot.
No, never do it on
Ever.
the spot.
Ever.
But people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So for some other stuff, it's like, do you just get it done, be quick about it, show your proficiency, and be like, yeah, we got you done. But run the risk of that person thinking that it's always cheap and easy to get their bike worked on. Might be. I mean, depends on the bike.
Yeah, I think it's all on how
Just
you.
depends on the bike.
Yeah, the bike.
But these
how
are the
you
skills.
sell it.
But these are the skills that have to be present in the person that you're working with. If they're just always saying, "Oh, we'll check you in, check your bike in for 2, 3, 4 weeks. We're gonna do, $150 to $250 tune-up. Send you on your way," you're probably getting a little bit screwed.
Yeah.
If the person you're dealing with isn't clearly sort of grappling with the questions that we're dealing with right here,
Yeah.
then their goal was probably to take advantage of you more than to help you out.
Yeah. If you walk into a bike shop and somebody just grabs a bike and sells, like in the beginning, and just says, "Oh yeah, you need a tune-up, go." But when I was younger, I would actually like kind of argue with someone like, "You don't need a tune-up." And as I've gotten older, if somebody pushes, fuck, you need a tune-up. If somebody's willing to push,
Yeah, well, at a certain point, like there's also an evaluation to be made of for just your time and effort for everything, right? It's like if they're willing to pay $125,
they're just like, here's my money, give it and
well,
give it the
then
tune-up.
you take the bike in, you check it in for a tune, and you do, and this is what's important, your mechanic, whoever they are, must do their due diligence for that bike, right?
Yeah.
Do the work that is required for that tune-up. Don't just assume, oh, it's a new bike, they brought it in for this, it's a quick and easy $125. No. Pull the wheels, check the hubs, check the brake. All the things that are required in that level of tune-up, do it. Because you might come across something that isn't quite right.
Yeah.
Something not greased, something not adjusted right, something
Cracked
not taken
frames.
care of. Right. Which can happen, even if it's
Brand new.
fairly new. Yeah.
A brand new bike, I mean, a lot of times what happens, the bike will fail at a weld. And that can happen within a few hours of riding or 1,000 hours of riding.
Right.
I have absolutely had bikes fail, brand new bikes fail.
Sure.
It happens, 100%. I've also seen bikes where there was a miscommunication from the manufacturer and it was not welded in the proper way, and they failed instantly. So taking the time to do that tune-up isn't a bad thing, but yeah, definitely. If you're getting paid to do it, you pull the wheels, you wipe the
Do
whole
the
thing
job.
down.
Do the job.
You go
yeah.
through the whole bike.
But this has been my just sort of long-standing suspicion, as well as like experience in bike shops, where the goal seems to be to sell not the highest level tune, but like they'll fucking do it like this. They'll have like a middle one, okay one, and then like the one that kind of sits about here that is real close to the one below it, but it's probably 50% more in cost, but it's not quite and then they've got another one that's priced obviously like stupid high, right? And they're like, well, they're not always going to sell the stupid high one, but they want to hit you this one here.
The 300.
That's only a little bit more work than this one here, but priced 50% higher, even though the workload is maybe 10% more. That's what they're shooting for. That's the goal for a lot of places. And it's bullshit.
Ooh, big shops, small shops. How many employees?
What is the distinction between a big shop and a small shop? How many employees?
I think like a small shop is like 1 to 5 employees. Again, part-time, full-time. Like a small shop could be like 2 full-time people, 3 part-time.
I mean, I'd say 1 to 10.
1 to 10, okay.
Well, I mean, when I had my store, I would definitely have considered myself a small store.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, we were running, in the summertime, 9 employees. Some part-time, but that's just the way we had to stagger the scheduling to keep it, to fill what we wanted to do for
yeah,
the hours we were open. So
this comment here, fixing the bike is the easy part. Building the customer relationship, trust, that takes more work. And I like that.
yeah, I love it. It's correct because it takes actual work.
Yeah.
Yes, fixing a bike is something that
And
an experienced
communication.
bike mechanic does they can do it repetitively and sort of on autopilot. Working with a person, you cannot do on autopilot. And that's I think where a lot of customers end up feeling a little bit like they haven't had the best experience when they feel like they've been treated like they've been taken on autopilot. Like, oh, your bike, your thing, boom, put you into the equation. Here's your tune-up, send you out the door, rather than the work it takes to
And that's
figure
why
it all out.
that first interaction where you put the bicycle in a bike stand and you go through each step and why that's important. Like, are you checking the ends of the cables? A lot of the times you'll have a blown up shifter cable, and if you don't check that, then either the bike's going to go out with a cable that's going to blow up later,
Yeah.
or you're going to call them up and say, hey, it's going to be X amount of dollars more.
Yeah.
So, check your cable ends. Are you checking hubs? Are you checking bottom brackets? Are you thoroughly going through that bike and showing the person like, hey, I care, I give a fuck. I'm going to go through your bike from top to bottom and hit all these points. And then we're going to talk about it when I say, you know what, I'm going to spin your front wheel. Put your hand on the fork. Can you feel that bearing is rough?
Yeah.
Okay, you feel that. I feel that. So we both know that front hub needs to be overhauled. Yeah. Like, you can't get that from calling them over the phone and saying your front hub's broken.
Right.
But when you're both there having that interaction, like, that is the most important thing.
Right. And that's what takes time.
Jason has always serviced my bike.
Well, I wish I knew. I don't know their username. I feel like I'm blushing now.
Jason has never serviced my bike.
I've never serviced your bike. I don't
Yeah.
need to service your bike.
A big point I wanted to make, though, is that first initial thing. Once you know your bike mechanic, then yeah, maybe it's a quick drop off.
Ooh, then that's going to get us into something else. But
there's a trust.
Which comes to shop size, like Chris was talking about. Once you enter into shop size of a certain amount, you're not guaranteed that the person working on your bike is the person who worked on it last time.
Exactly.
And you're not guaranteed that the person you're talking to is someone you've talked to before. And this is where like systems in place need to be like defined and implemented, across the board for everything to be done correctly the same way, so that anytime you come into a shop, whether it's this person or that person, that initial experience ends up being replicated one person to the other.
I think you should be able to go into a shop and get the same
That's
mechanic.
a management thing.
Yes.
Oh, walk into a shop and get the same mechanic? Curtis, can you walk into Wheat Ridge and ask for your
Probably
own
not.
mechanic?
Not your own mechanic, but just... And here's the thing. If you go get your car worked on, if you call a good shop, they're booked out 2 weeks, maybe a month out. Mm-hmm. A good service shop for cars, dude, they're booked out. Like, I had to get my Sprinter van serviced.
A large bike shop right now, this time of year.
2 weeks, at least.
Oh, no, a month.
A month?
Yeah.
All right, a month.
I mean,
a month it
2
is.
weeks. Some of the ones that are trying to push themselves as a service-oriented shop are going to keep you within a few days, especially if you can schedule ahead of time. But
Mark N. Cadence and type of tune-up, road difference between road versus mountain. Mountain needs more work.
yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that also rider style, riding style. There is that mountain bike rider who manages to hit every square edge possible.
Yeah.
Like they slam their wheel into everything.
Yep.
That person's going to need more maintenance.
Yeah. Harris made a good point. He says there's an obvious consumer who doesn't care about that. They don't care about who works on their bike. They just they equate like the overall like business or whatever that they're going to.
We'll call that
for whatever
the Jiffy Lube customer.
Well, that's the or the Wheat Ridge effect.
The way,
like I take my bike to. I don't know. The Cove is the Cove. Kevin, what's the Cove? Do you work? Does Kevin run the Cove? I wish
the
I
Cove
knew
is a
better.
week. A week out.
A week. A week is
A
good.
week out.
A week
Yeah,
is good.
That's great.
So, but, man, it's so much because like there's these bigger stores. Yeah, I don't know what's Wheat Ridge. Curtis, what's Wheat Ridge?
How many
He says
weeks
a month.
is
Curtis,
Wheat
he
Ridge
said right
out?
there. He said we are a month. Harris says Fox is 8 weeks. So if you want to send it back into Fox Shocks, a huge company, relatively speaking, in the bike world, 8 weeks to get your shock service from them.
8 weeks. Jesus.
Yeah, and Harris says he's got it down. The shops that are able to get you in, get you done, they are the ones that kill it. And somebody made the comment, it might have been Chris as well, previously, that there is sort of a distinction between shops that will and won't do on-the-spot repairs. Curtis said Wheat Ridge won't do on-the-spot repairs. I thought they did some, but maybe not.
You have to be set up for it.
You got to be set up.
100%.
When I ran my store, we knew that so much of this comes down to the fact that cycling runs such a wide range of customer. You have from like the parent who just needs their kid to ride their bike,
$89
so
Walmart
that
special.
they'll fucking do something outside, right?
Yeah.
Like that's over there. And then you've got like road race guy who has a race this weekend, or gravel race guy has a race next weekend, or mountain biker guy who's got his Moab trip and and their bikes are, $8,000-$10,000 plus, right? And then there's a whole world of people in the middle of this range.
Whole world.
Whole world. And they just have so many different needs in terms of like what the bike needs, but also in terms of what they need for how quickly they need to get that done. Yeah. So should I schedule something? So the question of how long it should be.
How long are you out for?
Well, I don't say that. It depends on you and your needs. If you're going on vacation next week, guess what? The bike will be ready when you get back from vacation. but I'm not going to do it right tomorrow if you're gone for a week and a
Ooh.
half.
I love this. Setting
All right.
expectations.
All right.
When do you need your bike back?
Or,
When do you need your bike back?
exactly. Or, oh, I'm just popping by. Just yesterday, customer tuned her bike up in the winter. Bike was running great. She went and rode Marshall Mesa and flat tire. Why did she get a flat tire? Sealant had dried out from the winter time to today.
Ooh.
Right? Okay. So she messages, hey, I got a flat tire. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I think it just needs sealant. So what do we do?
What do we do?
Come on by, put sealant in your tire, takes 15 minutes, we're done, right? When I had the store that I ran previously, we would not schedule regular labor on Fridays. Because we had a pretty hefty clientele who rode their bikes pretty heavily, pretty frequently. Road bikers, mountain bikers. I hate saying, but what I would call the mid to upper end of the spectrum, right? In terms of the cost of their bikes, how often they ride them, what they expect out of them. So those people need their bikes back faster. So we would do what we would call Freak Out Friday.
Freak out?
Right?
Freak out!
We wouldn't schedule any regular labor on Fridays, but we knew that Friday would be full of people being like, hey, I need this done today. I have a ride on the weekend. I have a trip on the weekend. I have a race, this and that. So that's what we did for that, because we knew that there was a certain component of our clientele that needed that. That's not every bike shop, though. So a bike shop needs to know what their jam is. You can't do the same exact thing for every person, for every bike.
And it all comes down to the initial check.
It does. The initial interaction.
That initial check. Because what if that person has a trip planned for Friday, they come into the shop on Monday, and they have a wallet out bottom bracket? Is that going to be done for their Moab trip on Friday? No, it's not.
Nope.
So then you have to tell them when they come in, you put the bike in the stand, you go, holy cow, like your bottom bracket is toasted and there's damage to the frame. Then you can say, you're going to need to rent a bike. And that person can go do that. And that's where that part of it, once again, the initial check-in, that is so crucial to building the trust. And
I just checked out the Cove. I didn't know
the Cove.
He's
checking out the Cove.
I remember Kevin, but I knew what he did. I didn't know where he was. He's in Summit County there. Nice. Awesome.
I'm putting this on live screen. We're putting this.
Go there.
The Cove.
The Cove, Bike and Ski, Summit County.
Summit County.
According to Kevin, they are a week out, which is reasonable. Well, especially in a place like Summit County, where the higher likelihood that the person who's bringing their bike is a more frequent rider.
So, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna need it.
Yeah. So then you have that initial. Somebody brings the bike in, they chat. You chat. You go through your full checkup, and you have. I think that our next show is going to be what that checkup is. We're going to have a bike set up, and we're going to go through what we check out as bike mechanics, what I check out. I mean, every mechanic's a little different, but like you should have a standard check over of the bike, and that starts to build that relationship and trust between the mechanic and the customer. That's what next week's episode's about. This week, I just wanted to cover just that building of the relationship and what to expect. And so, yeah, you come in, you check the bike out. The next step is setting an expectation of what needs to happen. And there's a couple different ways this goes. It's either, holy crap, something's totally broken on your bike, like a shock's blown out, a wheel's blown up, a cracked rim, cracked frame. Like, there's something major going
Sure.
on. This is going to take some time to fix. All the way from that to you need a couple adjustments and we can send you out the door. The shop I worked at, Salvagetti, like we set ourselves
Do
up.
we say salvagetti?
Salvagetti.
Okay, we do say salvagetti.
They set up we actually had a quick repair process. If a bike was under $35, and this was a couple of years ago, so keep in mind for inflation.
Adjusted for inflation, yes.
Adjusted for inflation. You know, like I would probably bring it up to like 55 for today's rates, especially in Denver. But we had, if it hit a certain threshold, it went into tune-up and it went into our regular scheduled maintenance. But if it was a couple things, and like you said earlier, sometimes when you do things too fast, it makes it seem like it's not worth it. So we would say, hey, drop your bike off for an hour, go grab a cup of coffee, or come back at lunch.
Yep.
And we would have time to look at the bike. You also need to take into account that you need time to actually fix it and assess and see if there's anything more that needs to be done while you're even doing quick service.
Yep.
But we would do that, and yeah, like, oh, you need a new set of tires. Like, if you can turn a set of tires in 30 minutes, that's really good, actually. Like, hey, the bike's in great condition, but you need a new set of tires. Boom, that's $100 and some ticket.
Yep.
Great, that works for everyone.
Yeah.
It's done. So we were set up to do quick service, but you set an expectation, set a price. If something comes in, one of the things I wanted to touch on too with this episode is setting a range when especially on the mountain bike side of things. Hey, this is going to be $300 to $350.
Sure.
Like setting versus saying this is the exact amount this is going to cost to fix it.
Yep.
But do you want me to call you and spend more time calling or emailing to do that? Or do you want me to just fix it and get it done quicker? So
sometimes that, right?
So when you have that initial talk, setting a range, like, hey, this is gonna be $300 to $350. This is gonna be $400 to $600. We might be pulling a shock off a bike and sending it somewhere. Like
Indonesia.
Yeah, maybe.
Sometimes you have to send
Sometimes you gotta send it to India. You know, or wherever.
Sometimes it's true. Yeah.
But like that is a huge part of the communication, is letting people know what is happening in that process.
Yeah.
And that all comes down to the initial check-in, which I've been trying to drive the whole episode.
Customer fucking service.
Yes.
I will say it again. Good bike mechanics who can do these things, all this stuff that we're talking about, they're probably maybe a little few or far between, but like they are invaluable.
India shock tubes, dude. They only cost $4.
India shock tubes and a little bit of shipping.
Yeah.
Shipping is unknown from time to time.
Subsidized by the government, but we'll talk about that on another episode.
Wait on my minutes. Oh, that's funny. What else?
So
you're driving this train.
The bike comes in.
Yes, it does.
Not only are you setting a price expectation, but you are setting a time expectation.
Yep.
So that time expectation needs to be
6 weeks.
12 years later, after you have your firstborn, Chip McCaco threw me off with I'm the only non-white man in this chat. You threw me off on that one. Please elaborate.
Why? Don't be so nosy.
No, I mean it's in the chats.
That's true.
You put it out there. Let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. Let's
Apparently
address
my
it.
customer, and I from their profile, I can't tell who they are. So
Yeah, but
sorry.
not only are you setting
I would know, and then be like, fuck yeah.
you're setting a price expectation.
Yep.
Like this repair costs between $300 and $1 million.
That's a good range to give.
Yeah, $3 million.
I'm comfortable with that range.
Are you a CEO? Then $3 million. But you're also setting a time expectation. And one thing that happened to me recently was somebody came in and they had a super loose bottom bracket on a mountain bike, full suspension. And I was like, man, I got to pull this apart and look at it. And then he was like, well, is it going to be done Friday? And the customer starts setting an expectation. And you say, I don't know, man. I got to look at it.
I say, I can make dreams come true.
I can make your dreams come true. Ooh.
That's what I do.
Ooh.
That's what I do.
Asian rude boy. All right.
I was that Denny. now I got to be like, oh, which they're putting me on the spot. I feel
How
awkward
inappropriate.
now.
How inappropriate do you want to be?
Which one's the Asian one?
Indian? Southeast?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know where Asia starts and ends.
I know I'm Polish.
Which is probably wrong.
Yeah. I'm Polish. I know that much. I can say that without being offensive.
I'm Scottish, and that's very far from Asia.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's happened. It's
You gotta.
reality. Scottish royalty, bud.
Oh. Royalty. So you're really inbred?
Heavily inbred.
Heavily inbred. We just keep having sex with our cousins. But
it's definitely a thing.
but you're setting a time expectation. You're setting a price expectation, and with that, if I'm going into a situation like, especially with suspension, Chris Harris, if I'm going into something with suspension and I'm gonna have to open it up and look at it, like that could be 2 weeks if I have to send it out or if I have to order a part.
Right.
So time expectation on that could be 2 weeks.
Which is still better than a month.
Yeah, could be a month.
6 weeks. Yeah.
Like I might just have to, like, here's the thing, I might have to call a company and check or look online if they have it. Then that thing has to get shipped to me. Then I have to put it into the schedule to get done. And then it gets done. And then I might run into something else. And,
Right.
You know, so there's...
Like muskrats.
It gets
You
wild.
might run into muskrats, and nobody wants that. It's true.
So, when there's an unknown...
The chat is too white. The chat is too damn white.
Says
It's
Curtis
true.
Cole.
I mean, he
Why haven't you become a soul singer? With a name like Curtis Cole?
right?
Yeah. Like, come on, dude. Pick up the slack.
Pick it up.
With that said, another thing I
You're cut
want
off. I'm still going.
another
kids are
thing I
almost out
want
of
to
school.
I want to touch on it. I'm going to go with the water.
Good call. I'm down to here, man. I've been doing all right. Touch on something else.
Touch on it. Is it soft and silky?
No,
I've
it's
been
not
working
soft. It's so good.
out. Is there a different type of bikes? You know, there's your single speed commuter
Oh my
versus
goodness. There's
your-
so many kinds of bikes.
versus your downhill.
And there's so many kinds of customers.
Yes.
And some of them have more than one bike kind.
Ah!
Yes.
So
Okay.
downhill.
How many different kinds of bikes? Go. Single speed, downhill. That's a spectrum right there.
Yeah, that's like the full spectrum.
Give me more. What else you got?
Single speed. Actually, if we want to go full spectrum, we would go
Full spectrum,
12-inch
CBD.
coaster brake.
Yes.
Strider bike
Strider bike.
to
yeah.
full on downhill bike.
Is that the spectrum?
As far as complexity, yes.
Yes. Agreed.
Okay, we agree on that.
Strider
So,
bike, downhill race bike.
downhill race bike, and then everything between.
Yeah.
Like a 8 to 9 inch travel, full send downhill bike. Actually, an
Yeah.
enduro bike might be more complicated because it has a dropper post.
Ooh. Interesting. And it has pedaling things. Mm-hmm. Pedaling kinematics.
More gears. So, with that said,
Oh my goodness. With that said, it's 9:00.
it is 9 o'clock. It is time to end this.
End this because
But there is a spectrum
the
of
fans
bikes.
have told us they want us to end on time. No, tons of different kinds of bikes. So dealing with each customer and their bike, the bike's needs, the customer's expectations for the bike, the budget that they have that they want to spend, your inclination to do like a good job at your fucking job, which most of us actually have.
And the whole reason we got into working
All
on
this
bikes
goes into a very, very specific, very delicate math equation, which we will reveal to you next week.
next week. Yeah. And all of this,
Yeah.
like we all do this because we care and we try to make a living off of doing something that we give a fuck about versus like
We give a shit, but we don't give a fuck.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a
There's
I think that was a
there's a
song.
T-shirt. Give
Another
a shit
thing-
without
okay.
giving a fuck.
One thing we did not touch on,
Oh, I did touch on you
a
already.
big
I'll
touch,
hold off.
is appointments.
Oh,
We did not touch on
we were
appointments.
We were gonna talk.
I looked at my notes.
Wanted to talk about appointments.
Appointments.
Fuck appointment. Sorry.
Okay,
Appoint-
50%
wait,
of
appointment-
people,
Fuck appointments. Is that like
50% of people
50%?
do not understand how appointments at a bike shop work.
More than 50% of people don't understand how appointments work in general.
Like, you figured it out for doctor's offices. Why can't you figure it out for bike shops? I'm going to take a drink and dramatic pause. Okay. You set an appointment. Okay?
Yes. That means that I go to a certain place at a certain time for a certain reason.
In a certain period of time. Like you drop something off for that appointment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before you do an appointment, the bike needs to be looked at. Period. Unless you do not care about how much money or how much time it takes. We need to look at the bike first.
Yeah. You have to.
Bring the bike by. Let's look at it.
Because I think we've alluded this, maybe we've said it before. Let's say, with all clarity, the customer is not always right.
No.
The customer cannot walk in and be like, I just need this. No, you fucking don't.
Period. End of sentence.
So let me tell you what you do need,
Because
and I'll be nice about it.
I've spent 20 years doing this.
Yeah.
20
Right.
fucking years.
Actually, Christopher Harris. Christopher, I love the diplomacy of it. It's Christopher Harris says that XC bikes with dual remotes are the most complicated. I'm going to give it to him. Yes, a cross-country race bike with dual remote lockouts, internally run through the headset, more complicated than every downhill race bike.
Yes.
Agreed. 100%.
100%. So, if you're going to do an appointment at a shop that you've never been to, you need to have the initial checkup, period. And that's how Ryan does it. You got to come by for a checkup, and then we'll schedule you for an appointment.
Yep.
The bike needs to be looked at before we work on it.
Yeah, because we assume you're an idiot. I'm
Yes.
sorry, that's
No.
not true. We don't
That's-
assume you're an idiot.
It was a little bit harsh, but
No,
no.
that's harsh. It's
No,
true.
there's a reason you're bringing a bike to a bike shop.
we have to do a collab, right? We have to collab your experience with our experience. So your experience with your product specifically, with our experience with all bikes, kind of comprehensively.
Yeah.
We put those two things together, then we can figure out how your bike can work the best that it can be for as long as possible.
And it can get done, and everyone's happy, and we sing Kumbaya. And I think for the most part, it gets, everyone works together, we get it done, but there's still miscommunications, especially with appointments. Like, I've
All right.
worked in bike shops for 20 years,
Yeah.
and we have online, and I hope it gets better, but, like,
Online
people
it
cannot
makes it
figure
worse.
out appointments.
No, it makes it worse.
And here's the confusing part about appointments that I want to put out there is you make an appointment. One, the bike needs to be looked at and evaluated, and we need to do that together on your first visit and consultation.
Hold hands. We're with you on this.
Yeah.
Totally.
And the second part is
Yeah.
once you drop the bike off, we need to have it like as a mechanic or shop. You need to have it for a little bit of time to do the work, assess it, make sure everything runs smoothly, make
Yep.
sure extra parts don't need to be ordered.
Ideally, if your situations run well, it's less than a month.
Yeah. And the whole point of an appointment is you pay for that little piece of time. You
Yeah.
come in, drop the bike off,
Yeah.
we get the work done, and you pick it up. And appointments make things efficient. But when you don't drop it off for that little piece of time, then it throws the whole thing off. You missed your slot. We moved on to the next thing. You've lost your slot of time. And we have to move on.
Fell through your fingers.
And that's where the problems pop up because then like, hey, I was supposed to do that tune-up at this time. And every shop runs differently. Some shops are going to be like, hey, you buy this hour of time, you get it here, and we have it here. Some shops like, hey, I need it for 24 hours. However it runs.
Yeah.
But just make sure you understand that transaction and that you are having an initial check-in for that.
Yep.
So you could check brakes, you could check wheels, you could check shifting, and it's all done. Especially on more complicated bikes, like a full suspension mountain bike.
Yeah. Or 1976 Raleigh touring bike.
I bet you can't guess what the next bike I'm going to say is. Complicated bike, go.
Next complicated bike you want to list? A Bionicon.
That is pretty complicated. I was going to say Brompton.
Bromptons aren't that bad though. Bike Friday might be worse than Brompton. A Bike Friday with a dual drive. Let's bat that back to our previous show. Car reservation Seinfeld episode. Yeah.
Yes.
You can't keep you need to keep the reservation. I don't know.
Dude, I don't know what it is. Like, I've worked at multiple shops over 20 years, and appointments are always an issue.
I have avoided them so much because, mostly because people would think that appointment means they show up and that the bike gets worked on and finished
Immediately?
while they wait.
Yeah.
And I get how they could think that, but they shouldn't think that because, I mean, if you could know the future, right? Like if you could know what the bike was before it came, then you could be like, oh yeah, I know that I am adjusting V-brakes and adjusting shifting on a Shimano Altus 8-speed drivetrain.
Precognition.
If I knew those things, I could predict, but we cannot know those things because part of knowing those things is like, oh yeah, I might know those components, but I might not know that this bike has been sitting in your fucking back porch for 3 years.
Or-
and the cables that run from that Altus derailleur to the SRAM, what was it, MRX or whatever is their Shimano cable pull, is fucking rusted through end to end, and then now we have to replace that. Well, yeah, you can't replace rusted. You can't adjust rusted.
Have you ever been to the beach?
So,
Okay, beach
Yeah.
bikes. This is a whole nother rant.
oh, Curtis says that WRC has appointments dialed. All right, next week, Curtis, we're gonna. We'll see. We'll bring you
You
on.
never have an
Tell us how
issue
we
with
have
appointments.
this fucking dialed. No, they show up.
Do you use the internet?
No, it goes two ways. It's like there's an appointment to get your bike looked at, and then an appointment after that to get your bike worked on.
Yes, that is reasonable.
That's what
You
they
gotta
do,
look
and
at
it's
it.
only because which
Would
is
you look at
fine,
that?
Which is fine.
Would you look at that?
Yeah,
Look
that's
at
how
that.
they do it.
Look at that. What is this? This is a cap. I've identified it. Now I
Yeah.
can work on it.
Right. Yeah.
Done.
Then why is it a month lead time?
I don't know. It's a month. Okay, because you didn't get your bike fixed in November.
Because they don't have enough bike mechanics or bike mechanic spots, and they care more about selling stuff right now because they're probably overstocked like every other bike shop in town.
But
That's a
could
different question. We're not here to crap
but
on
could you have
Wheat
had
Ridge.
your bike worked on in November?
What's that?
Could you have had your bike worked on in November or December or February
I could have.
or January, whatever?
I could have.
Any of the winter months. It could have been done.
when I wasn't thinking about it. Yep.
Another thing
exactly.
is we have technology like Google Calendar, and we can make appointments. And you can put notes in there for yourself. Why? So for the
Chat's
whole
getting
existence,
spicy, and I love it.
the whole existence of my life, everybody waits till the first
Yeah.
85-degree day to get their bike worked on. 85 degrees.
You think that's it?
85 degrees hits.
My experience was like 5 consecutive days over 50,
Oh.
over 65.
I forgot. I'm going to take it back. Yes, you are correct.
It depends, I guess, on the. Again, though, this is why it depends on the customer. If it's the garage sleeper, right?
Yeah.
That's the 85 degrees. Oh, we could go ride with the grandkid. Fucking bullshit, right? No, you're a great person. Go ride your bike. We love you. I'm sorry. You need your bike to work well. But yeah, the other person who's like, I want to go mountain
Your
biking.
point
I want to
is-
go mountain biking in the spring. Oh, it's been 65 for 5 days straight. Oh, now. No, it should have been before.
Everyone goes to bike shops at the same time. And then bike shops have to ramp up their production of repairs really rapidly. So they're like, we need mechanics right now.
Right. And there aren't enough.
And there aren't enough. There's never enough. Every shop gets booked out minimum 2 weeks, if not longer. And then people start coming in and, okay, with the initial check, the first thing I would say when people came in is I would say, we're 2 weeks out. I just want to let you know that before I even look at your bike. I don't want to waste your time. I want to tell you right away, we're 2 weeks out.
But it's why
Does that
we
work?
need so many more different kinds of bike shops.
Service.
Like more places like
Service
me
shops.
who are like, I don't have to ask someone that question. I know all of my customers are trying to ride now. Right? And that's what I do. And I can get it done as I can. And so, but I'm not worrying about the family bike, like the dad who's bringing in all 6 or 8 family bikes to get tubeless tires and, thorn resistant tubes, not tubeless. I'm going to say, wow, that was amazing.
Wrong tube.
Thorn resistant tubes, and
Here,
we can watch it. 3, 2, 1.
ready? Wrong tube.
Here we go. Oh boy.
Oh.
Anyway, bike shops that are trying to serve, like, again, the whole spectrum, the Strider bike to the XC bike with the internal routing on everything. They're trying to do everything for everyone. And that's bottlenecking. And there's like, there's bike mechanics like me who would be like, oh yeah, I'll totally just work on people who want to ride right now. And then there's other guys who are like, I just want to let commuters and families like get rolling and I'll work on this. Those people exist, right? They're out there in the bike world and in the bike mechanic sphere. But they're stuck inside the service departments of bike shops because that's where they can get a fucking job. Work for yourself. That's my point.
Yeah. Like another big point is like independent. Best moment of this show.
Cameron
100%.
tuned in and just saw you throwing up.
Just did that. That's why the show's fucking live, dude. That right
Can't
there.
be live. Oh boy.
That's why it's live. You can't fake it, dude. I gulped down the wrong tube, and it came up. Couldn't avoid it. I was like, we're going for it. But supply and demand. No supply or no demand in February.
Right.
Couple months later, everyone's like, oh, it's been 65 degrees. We need to ride now. And
it
floods the bike shop. But there's a little lull in July.
But
Like
there's
hottest months.
But there's also a little bit of like finessing, right? You haven't ridden your bike since last summer. Yeah, you wanted to ride it now because what? The wife was like, we should ride bike this weekend. Oh, the bike's got to get fixed. Oh, well, then you know what? That little thing passes and then they're not going to want to ride bikes for another 3, 4, 6 weeks anyway. The people who are like, oh, I ride 3 days a week. Yeah, you can ask those questions. Do you ride 3 days a week, 5 days a week?
That's part of the interview.
Fucking yeah, we'll put you in. Do you ride this thing strictly between like the 1st of June and the middle of August?
Or when your wife asks you.
Or like, yeah, literally only when your wife asks, like,
We
when
need
your
to
wife
get
was
the
like,
bikes fixed,
oh, we got
honey."
to get the bikes fixed because we are going to Breckenridge for the weekend in the 3rd weekend of July. Yeah, fucking work with that.
Yeah.
Shuffle those calendars. Not everybody has to go in order.
I think, let me check my notes here. I wanted to touch on appointments, setting expectations. I think we touched the points about setting expectations.
We touched so
like
many points.
Money
Touched all the
and
points.
time
We touched them with
and get it
consent.
done. The last thing I want to touch on
Yes.
is
More consensual touching. Yes.
the bike stop slammed. They've just told you it's 2 weeks out. One option after I burp is if you actually talk to your bike mechanic and say, hey man, I really need to get this done. It's something that just needs time worked on.
Right.
Will money fix the problem?
Ooh. Money will fix the problem.
If you're like, hey, I'm going to ask you to work a freaking 14-hour day today, but I'm going to give you an extra $200. Will that fix the problem?
Yes, but this falls in the gap of big shop versus small shop.
Yes.
Because big shop, the person you're talking to may not have the authority to make that decision, nor the resources to make it come true.
So at Salvagetti, Scott, the owner of the shop, would actually totally be down if the customer wanted to pay the mechanic directly to expedite their repair. So you're
Sorry,
off the
I need
clock.
to apologize for Cameron. He's smarter than most of us, but also real overbearing. So he uses big words.
I love the big words.
He's a consultant for Crocs.
Oh, dude, I'm trying to get in with Crocs.
Dude,
I want to get in with their creative
talk
department.
to my boy.
I'd love to make Crocs commercials. My kids wear Crocs. We've actually gotten Crocs for both my kids. They work perfectly. I might.
Well, yeah, they hold their feet.
They go on and they don't have to tie them or whatever. Kids,
Yeah.
they just their feet go in.
Yeah.
I love it. But man, if we could solve this problem, it would be amazing. But like people have been working on this problem since I've been in the bike industry. And it's always
I
this
solved it, but
rush
whatever.
of demand.
Yeah.
Yeah, the solve is more people are independent mechanics that
Correct.
just run a small shop, low overhead, and can do the work consistently.
Yep. That's the solution.
That's the solution versus
Large shops where everybody's trying to get all of everything done
Yeah,
all at the same time.
like thousands of people know to go to this one place.
Yep.
And then that gets booked out, and they're turning as fast as they can, but they're still 2 weeks or a month out. COVID was the insanest time to work at a bike shop. I worked at a bike shop because I got everything got canceled, and I was like, I have to make money, and I went and worked for a shop for a couple months, and it was nuts. I mean, we were booked out over a month, and people were flooding in, and people were getting angry. Like, I mean, I would get yelled at from time to time.
Yep.
And you'd have to yell back, and it was wild. But
922.
Setting up leverage on demand. Yeah. I think more independent mechanics and setting up online scheduling could help tremendously.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with the fuck the all-in-one bike shop platform.
Yeah, we're not a car dealership.
Yeah.
Like, even car dealerships suck because guess what they're trying to do? Make you buy more cars.
Right.
So let's get away from that and just bike mechanics fix bikes, bike dealers sell bikes. Maybe that's simplistic. Maybe there is maybe there's a shop that can do both. Great, do that. But maybe there's more independent options for folks.
Right.
One thing I want to touch on before we go. Boop! is on the consumer side of things,
Yeah.
set up appointments. Do you do appointments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything I do is appointments.
Yeah. So why can't somebody set up 2 appointments a year with you ahead of
To
time?
get their bikes worked on?
Yeah. Just like,
They could.
hey, I'm going to need a bike appointment in beginning of the year and July. And
that's
just set it up.
Part of what my new
Take 2.
service reporting system does, Hub Tiger. You can find it in your app store.
Hub Tiger.
Hub Tiger. No,
Is that any...
that's part of what this
What
system
about
that
Hub Cougar?
no. Hub Cougar was, I was a little too popular. We'll put it that way.
I think they would have
It's a
had
Ginger Premium, apparently.
way better success with Hub Cougar.
Correct. Anyway,
Yep. But carry on, Hub
this
Tiger.
system I'm using now, Hub Tiger, which is for running service departments and rentals, but I use it obviously for service departments. They have that in there, which is basically like you can set up a number of reminders, like, hey, it's been X amount of months since you've had your bike worked on. You probably need to get this done.
Oh, yeah, you were showing me that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
remember.
don't do that because I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be pushy.
You don't want to be pushy. At the same time, like, people need to...
But also at the same time, again, knowing your clientele and your customers, my customer, I know they're riding their bikes.
And
they're not like, oh, yeah, I need my bike worked on. Like, they fucking know.
At the end of the year...
my people know what's up.
Are you putting your bike away dirty? So set up an appointment in May so it's ready to go. Tune-ups do not go bad. Tires may go a little flat. You got to fill up some tires. But tune-ups don't go bad. So let's get like one thing I'm going to reiterate as we go through the next couple live shows is set up a tune-up in May. Like book it right now. Why not?
Yeah.
You can do it. You can book
can.
that spot, and
Yep.
it's there. And then understand how your bike shop does appointments. Auto renew, auto service, done. Also, if a bike shop sees that there are 50 tune-ups, then they can go, hey, we need to get, like, they can adjust. What's his name was saying about supply and demand and scaling and all that. Like, yeah, if people bought their tune-ups ahead of time, holy crap, that would be like amazing.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
What if you bought your tune-up ahead of time and then you don't need it?
You always need a tune-up because you're either going to put your bike away dirty or you're going to get it tuned up before you put it away, and then you pump your tires up and it's ready
What's
to go.
a tune-up?
A tune-up is a bundle of services a bike shop puts together to give you the best value. Damn, I got that friggin' dial, dude. Sell it.
Yeah.
So,
All right, boys and girls and
I think we need to tune out.
kids and
Remember,
you gotta go. Yeah.
the most important part is the checkup and the relationship you build with your bike service provider.
That's where I agree. So much. It's like the interaction from person to person is critical. Whether that's from a single, like...
Hold on, he said cable stretch. Cable stretch is
bullshit.
a lie. Cables don't
Cable stretch is put out there by bike shop, big bike shop, to get you to get more like subsequent tune-ups done.
Yeah. Cables don't stretch.
Housing and ferrules settle in. Yep.
Yes.
And you can pre-settle or pre-stretch that stuff upon assembly.
Yes. 100%.
If you do your job.
Chains don't stretch. Chains wear. They wear longer. They wear. If a cable stretched, it would continue to stretch as you rode. You would just like, it would just always be stretching while you were shifting. You're like, man, it's just like I have to tune it all the time. It would be terrible.
Do they keep tuning the Golden Gate Bridge?
Like, hold on, another quarter turn.
The cables are stretching this year. We gotta tighten them up. I mean,
another quarter turn.
They probably have a little bit, maybe. Maybe a little.
Now that gets into engineering and resonance frequency. I don't know any big words, but
all I know is not the future.
But yes, Big Bike wants you to believe that you need lifetime cable adjustments. You don't need lifetime. Things wear out and they break, and you just need to replace them from time to time.
Next week, can we talk about Unbound?
Yeah, next week we're gonna go over the
Everybody's
check-in
getting ready
process.
for fucking Unbound, and it's
What's Unbound?
It's what's been
I'm a dad.
It's the new name for the Dirty Kanza.
Gravel.
They renamed it for reasons, so it's fine.
Dirty Kanza.
Whatever. Yeah.
Is that inappropriate?
I believe it was considered to be enough so to change the name. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting ready for Unbound, which is in like 2-3 weeks at this point. So.
Okay. Why is Dirty Kanza inappropriate?
Is that a question?
Yes.
Google it. I'm not. I believe it was some sort of derogatory, like
Kanza. It may just
statement about like the region that they hold the race in relative to the indigenous people who are from there. Now, there were some indigenous people who were fine with the name, other maybe who weren't, and they thought maybe it was best to change the name to what's called Unbound. So
okay.
Fine.
I don't know. I am ignorant. Please teach me.
I mean, that's as much as I'm teaching you. All I know is they changed it. There was a thing. Yeah.
Well, we've been going for a really long time, and I keep saying...
it's 9:30.
But one more. I'm
But-
all done.
But one more.
Do your tune-ups early. Make sure you have a check-in with your mechanic. Appointments work half the time.
Talk to your mechanic. Have a conversation. If they are giving you
We're all human.
fake speech, directing you to large tune-ups all the time, fuck them and leave.
Yeah.
Don't fuck them. Just leave. You can do whatever you want, but not there.
It's a conversation. You go over the bike.
Yeah.
You say, you need this, you need that. You don't need this, you need that. Your shit's fucked. You ride. Okay. Last thing is, there are some people who ride their bikes really hard. They don't know how to be finesse,
Yeah.
and they just break things.
True.
And you need to be honest, with that customer. You need to say, "Hey, your shit's fucked. You break stuff all
simple.
the time.
This is broken. This is broken. This is broken. Your spoke is pulling through your rim.
It's not
Your
Shimano's
axle's
fault."
broken. Your cush core doesn't work anymore.
Okay, I had a friend.
Yeah.
He was a friend and customer, Ed Buckin.
Ooh.
He rode so hard, and he would always blame Shimano. He would be like, "Shimano makes the worst derailleurs," and I was like, "It's not Shimano. It's you. You hit every square edge. You break stuff constantly." And those are the tough conversations you need to have. I also,
It's so tough.
Ed Buckin would make things out of literally pallet wood and finishing nails. And I would have to be like, "Ed, you gotta
Have I not shown you my TED?
you gotta
It's a tent / shed. I call it the TED.
welcome to TED Talks."
That's what it is. So,
Well,
we're done.
we're done.
Things are getting too personal now, and bicycle therapy, we're not getting too personal.
Jesus.
It's his fault.
All right, we love you. Keep
Catch
it real.
us next week where we
I yelled so
hopefully
much.
don't throw up on the floor.
Classic moments.
Good night, everybody.
Axis makes the worst tires.
Oh, go Nuggets.
Go Nuggets.
Yay, sports balls.
Yeah, throwing balls.
Yeah.